The silk blindfold is too tight, digging into the bridge of my nose, but I don't complain. I don't even breathe loudly. Tonight is the night I've promised Julian, the perfect night he's been planning for weeks. My heart hammers against my ribs, a trapped bird desperate for flight. Yet I stay still. I stay waiting. "Trust me, Elara," Julian had whispered earlier, his breath smelling of expensive scotch and desperation. "I want this to be unforgettable. Just stay in the room. Don't take the mask off. Let me come to you." I hear the heavy oak door creak open. The click of the lock following it sounds like a gunshot in the silent apartment. A presence enters the room. It's heavy, suffocating, and carries the scent of rain, tobacco, and something primal that makes the hair on my arms stand up. It doesn't smell like Julian's sterile citrus cologne. "Julian?" I whisper, my voice trembling. No answer, only the sound of boots on the hardwood, slow, deliberate thuds. Julian usually wears loafers that muffled his step. These feet belong to a giant. A hand touches my shoulder. It's calloused and massive, the fingers wrapping around my collarbone with a grip that feels less like a caress and more like a claim. I shiver, a cold dread pooling in my stomach. This doesn't feel like the man I've dated for 2 years. This feels like a predator. "You're shaking," a voice rasps. My blood turns to ice. It's not Julian. The voice is an octave lower, gravelly and dangerous. It's Elias, Julian's estranged brother who arrived 3 days ago with a dark reputation and eyes that look like they've seen the end of the world. "Elias?" I gasp, reaching for the blindfold. "What are you—" His hand clamps over mine, pinning my wrist to the headboard before I can touch the silk. The strength is terrifying. He leans down, his heat radiating off his chest, pressing me into the mattress. "Don't," he growls at my ear. His stubble grazes my skin, sending a jolt of pure, confused electricity through my spine. "Julian isn't coming, Elara. He's in the living room, staring at a glass of whiskey and a contract he just signed." "What are you talking about? Get off me." I struggle, but he's like a mountain. "He sold you," Elias says, his voice devoid of pity. "He's been playing high-stakes games with money that wasn't his, and he lost. He owed me a debt he couldn't pay with cash, so he offered me the only thing he had left that I actually wanted." The room spins. My mind refuses to process the words. Julian? My Julian? Who buys me lilies and holds the door open. He wouldn't. I choke out. He did. He's sitting out there right now, staring at a glass of whiskey and a contract he just signed. "Let me go," I sob, the tears finally soaking into the silk mask. "Please, Elias, you don't have to do this." "I don't," he agrees, his voice dropping to a hum that vibrates in my chest. "But I've wanted you since the moment I walked through that door. I've watched him treat you like a porcelain doll he didn't deserve to touch. Now you're mine, by legal right and by his own hand." He moves then, his body heavy and commanding. There is no gentleness, only a raw, desperate hunger. I want to fight, I want to scream, but the betrayal from the man in the other room has paralyzed me. As Elias takes what Julian gave away, a dark, twisted realization settles in my gut. Julian threw me to the wolf to save himself, but as Elias's hands holds me with a possessive ferocity Julian never possessed, I feel a spark of something horrific, a sick magnetic pull toward the man who was currently breaking me. When it's over, the room is silent again. Elias stands, the sound of his heavy breathing the only clock in the room. He reaches down and finally snaps the blindfold off. My eyes adjust to the dim light. Elias is looking down at me, his face a mask of shadows. There is no guilt in his eyes, only a dark, burning obsession. "He's waiting for you in the kitchen," he says, zipping his jacket. "Go see what your hero looks like now." I don't say a word. I wrap myself in a robe, my legs shaking so badly I have to grip the walls. I walk out into the hallway, toward the light of the kitchen. Julian is sitting at the table. He doesn't look up. He looks at the floor, his face pale and sweating. "Is he gone?" Julian asks, his voice thin and pathetic. I stare at him, the man I thought I would marry. I look at his weak shoulders and his cowardly eyes. Then I look back toward the bedroom door where Elias stands in the shadows, watching us. "You gave me to him," I say. It isn't a question. "I had no choice, Elara. He was going to kill me." Julian finally looks at me, his eyes pleading. "It was just one night. We can move past this. We'll get married. I look past Julian straight at Elias. Elias gives me a slow, predatory smirk. He knows. He knows that in one night, he didn't just take my virginity. He destroyed my world, and in the ruins, he's the only thing left standing. The hatred I feel for Julian is a cold, dead weight. But the feeling I have when I look at Elias, it's a dark, burning fever. "Get out, Julian," I whisper. "What?" Julian blinks. "Elara, this is my apartment." "I said, get out," I bark, my voice cracking. Elias steps out of the shadows, crossing his arms over his broad chest. "You heard the lady, Jules. The debt is paid, but the girl, she doesn't seem to want you anymore." Julian looks between us, the realization dawning on him that he didn't just trade a night, he traded his soul. He grabs his keys and flees, the door slamming behind him. I'm left alone with the man who just ruined me. Elias walks towards me, stopping just inches away. He reaches out, tucking a stray hair behind my ear. His touch should make me scream, but instead I lean into it, a broken bird looking for a new cage. "You're mine now, Elara," he whispers, "and I never give back what I've earned." The silence Julian left behind is heavier than his presence ever was. I'm standing in the kitchen of an apartment that no longer feels like home, wearing a silk robe that feels like a shroud. Elias is still there. He hasn't moved. He's leaning against the breakfast bar, watching me with those dark, predatory eyes. He doesn't look like a man who just committed a betrayal. He looks like a man who just moved the final piece into a chessboard. "He's gone," I whisper, my voice cracking. "He was always gone, Elara," Elias says, his voice a low, soothing hum that vibrates in the small space between us. "A man who puts a price tag on his woman was never really there to begin with." He walks toward me. My instinct is to bolt, to run into the bathroom and bolt the door, but my legs are made of water. He stops just inches away, the heat radiating off his leather jacket hitting me like a physical wave. He reaches out, his large hand cupping the side of my neck. His thumb strokes my jawline, and I hate the way my skin sparks under his touch. "Don't touch me," I say, though I don't pull away. "You didn't say that an hour ago," he murmurs, leaning down until his lips are brushing my ear. "You were breathless. You were mine." "Because I thought you were him," I snap, finally finding the strength to shove his chest. It's like pushing against a brick wall. "You lied. You both lied." Elias grabs my wrists, not painfully, but with an iron grip that reminds me exactly who has the power here. He pins them against my chest, forcing me to look up at him. "I didn't lie, Elara. I didn't say a word until it was done. Julian is the one who played the music. I just danced to it. And now he's defaulted on the rest of the loan. This apartment, the car in the garage, the ring on your finger, it all belongs to me now." My breath hitches. "What?" "Julian didn't just trade a night," Elias says, a cruel smirk playing on his lips. "He signed over the lease. He signed over his shares in the family business. He's a ghost now, Elara. He's running back to our father with his tail between his legs, begging for a plane ticket out of the country." I stumble back, hitting the counter. So what? I'm just part of the furniture? Part of the settlement? You're the only part I actually care about keeping, he says. He walks to the fridge, pulls out a bottle of water, and cracks it open, acting as if he lives here, as if he's always lived here. You have two choices. You can pack a bag and walk out that door with nothing, no money, no phone, no car, and see how far you get before Julian's creditors find you. Or you can stay here, with me. Why would I stay with you? I hiss, tears of rage blurring my vision. You're a monster. Maybe, he shrugs, taking a slow drink, but I'm a monster who keeps his word. Julian promised to cherish you and sold you for a gambling debt. I'm promising to keep you, and I've already paid the price. Who's the villain, Elara? The logic is warped, sick, and undeniably true. I have nowhere to go. My parents are gone. My savings were tied into Julian's investments, and the lease is in a name that now belongs to the man standing in front of me. I hate you, I whisper. Elias sets the water bottle down and walks over to me. He doesn't grab me this time. He just stands so close I can feel the rhythm of his heart. He reaches out and tilts my chin up, forcing me to meet his gaze. Hate is a very passionate emotion, Elara. It's much better than the boredom you had with him. Now go to sleep. Not in the guest room, in our room. I'm not sleeping with you, I bark. I didn't ask you to, he says, his voice turning cold, commanding. I told you to go to sleep. I'll be on the couch tonight, but tomorrow we start the new rules. He turns his back on me, ending the conversation. I stand there for a long time, watching him settle onto the sofa where I used to cuddle with Julian. I retreat to the bedroom, the room that smells of betrayal and Elias's skin. I lock the door, but the click of the bolt feels meaningless. He has the key. He has the lease. He has everything. I lay in the dark, my body aching, my mind screaming. I should feel disgusted. I should be planning my escape. But as I close my eyes, the memory of his hands, stronger, surer, and more honest than Julian's, haunts me. I'm a prisoner in a glass house, and the wolf is the only one guarding the door. I wake up to the sound of breaking glass. I bolt upright in the oversized bed, the sheets tangled around my legs like vines. For a second, I forget. I think I'm in my life, the old one. I expect Julian to be standing there with a sheepish smile, having dropped a coffee mug. Then the scent of tobacco and rain hits me, and the memory of the zipper, the blindfold, and the transaction floods back. My stomach heaves. I throw on the robe and pull the door open. The living room is a wreck. Julian's museum is being dismantled. Elias is standing in the center of the room, a heavy crowbar in one hand. He has smashed the glass display case that held Julian's collection of vintage watches. "What are you doing?" I scream. Elias doesn't even look at me. He reaches into the shattered glass, his knuckles bleeding slightly, and pulls out a Patek Philippe. He tosses it into a duffel bag at his feet. "Liquidating," he says curtly. "Julian didn't just owe me, Elara. He owed people who don't take an 'I'm sorry' for an answer. Men who make me look like a Sunday school teacher." I lean against the doorframe, watching him systematically strip the apartment of everything expensive. "He told me he was successful. He told me the gallery was thriving." "The gallery was a laundromat for dirty money," Elias grunts, moving to the safe in the wall. He punches in a code, Julian's birthday, and the door swings open. He pulls out a stack of documents and flings them onto the coffee table. "Look at them. See for yourself." I walk over, my hands trembling as I flip through the papers. My signature is everywhere. Loans I never applied for, credit lines I never opened. He had forged everything. Julian didn't just sell my body last night, he had already sold my future months ago. "I'm ruined," I whisper, the paper slipping from my fingers. "I'll go to jail for this." Elias stops. He drops the crowbar, the heavy thud echoing in the hollow room, and walks toward me. He stops close enough that I have to tilt my head back.
He smells of sweat and adrenaline. "Not if you stay with me," he says. His voice is different now, less like a predator, more like a contract lawyer from hell. "I've already handled the creditors. I paid off the immediate threats this morning, but in exchange, I told them you were under my protection, that you belong to me now." "Stop saying that," I hiss, but the terror is being replaced by a cold, hard desperation. "I don't belong to anyone." "In their world, you do." He reaches out, his bloody thumb grazing my lower lip. I should flinch, but I'm too tired. "What is the first rule?" I ask, remembering his words from last night. Elias leans in, his eyes locking on mine with an intensity that makes my lungs seize. "Rule number 1, no more lies. Between us, there is only the truth, no matter how much it burns." "Fine," I say, my heart hammering. "The truth? I want to kill Julian, and I'm terrified of you." Elias out a low, dark chuckle that vibrates in his chest. "Good, that's a start. Now for the second part of the rule." He reaches into the duffel bag and pulls out a new phone. He holds it out to me. "You don't leave this apartment without me. You don't call anyone without me knowing otherwise. You are dead to the world until I say otherwise." "That's not a rule. That's a prison sentence." "Is it?" He steps even closer, his chest brushing against the silk of my robe. He towers over me, a wall of muscle and dark intent. "Julian gave you a cage and called it a home. I'm giving you a fortress and calling it what it is. You're a smart girl, Elara. Choose the wolf you know." He leans down, his lips ghosting over mine. It isn't a kiss, it's a challenge. He's waiting for me to pull away, to scream, to fight. But as I look at the wreckage of the life I thought I loved and the man who destroyed it to claim the pieces, I don't pull away. I grab the front of his shirt, my fingers staining from the blood from his knuckles. "Why me, Elias?" I ask, my voice a ragged edge. His grip on my waist tightens, his fingers digging into the soft flesh. "I didn't just take your virginity to settle a debt, Elara. I took it so you'd never be able to look at him again without seeing me." He drags his lips across my cheek to my ear. "I didn't just take your virginity to settle a debt. I took it so you'd never be able to look at him again without seeing me." The phone in his pocket buzzes. He pulls back, the moment shattered, but the air between us remains charged with a sick, magnetic tension. He looks at the screen, and his face hardens. "Get dressed," he commands. "We're leaving. Julian's friends are early." "Where are we going?"
He looks at me, a dark spark of something that almost looks like possessiveness in his eyes. "To my world, the one where things don't break when you touch them." The fortress isn't an apartment, it's a compound. Elias drives his black SUV with a reckless precision, weaving through the city outskirts until the skyscrapers turn into skeletal trees and gray horizon. I sit in the passenger seat, clutching the new phone he gave me, a device that feels more like a tracking collar than a gift. We pull up to a set of rusted iron gates nestled in a high stone wall. There's no doorbell, no keypad, just a camera that swivels toward us with a mechanical hum. The gates groan open, and we roll down a gravel driveway toward a house that looks like it was built to survive an apocalypse. It's all concrete, glass, and sharp angles, perched on the edge of a cliff. "Welcome to the edge of the world," Elias says, killing the engine. The silence here is physical. After the constant hum of the city and the echoing screams of my shattered life, the quiet feels like it's pressing against my eardrums. "Is this where you hide?" I ask, staring at the bleak beauty of the place. "This is where I breathe," he corrects. He gets out and walks around to my side, opening the door. He doesn't offer a hand, he simply waits for me to stand. "Inside, Elara, I have work to do." The interior is as cold as the exterior, minimalistic, expensive, but devoid of the curated warmth Julian loved. There are no lilies here, no soft velvet cushions. It smells of cedar and gun oil. Elias leads me to a room on the second floor. It has a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the crashing waves below. A massive bed sits in the center, draped in charcoal linens. "This is your room," he says. "The door doesn't lock from the inside." I turn to him, my heart hammering. And from the outside? A slow, dark smile spreads across his face. "Only if I think you're planning on doing something stupid, like running back to a man who sold you for parts." He walks to a desk in the corner and opens a drawer, pulling out a small velvet box. He tosses it on the bed. "Put that on." I open the box. Inside is a necklace, a delicate silver chain with a heavy, raw diamond pendant. It looks like a drop of frozen light. "I'm not wearing your jewelry, Elias," I hiss. "It's not jewelry," he says, his voice dropping into that dangerous register that makes my skin prickle. "You are a woman whose life was traded away. Right now, you're a ghost. Without that collar, you're just prey. Do you want to be prey, Elara, or do you want to be mine?" The way he says mine isn't like the way Julian said it. Julian said it like a proud owner showing off a trophy. Elias says it like a man claiming a part of his own soul he didn't know was missing. It's terrifying. It's intoxicating. "I hate how you look at me," I whisper, my eyes fixed on his mouth. "And I hate how much you like it," he counters. He takes the necklace from the box. I stay still as he steps behind me. His hands are cold as he brushes my hair aside, but the moment the metal touches my skin, I feel a jolt of heat. He clicks the clasp shut. The weight of the diamond rests right in the hollow of my throat. He lingers there, his chest pressed against my back. He doesn't move away. Instead, he buries his face in the crook of my neck, inhaling deeply. "You smell like him," Elias mutters, his voice thick. "I'm going to have to burn that out of you." Before I can respond, a heavy knock sounds at the door downstairs. Elias stiffens, the intimacy vanishing instantly. He pulls back, his face returning to that stony, unreadable mask. "Stay here," he commands. "Don't come to the stairs. Don't look through the glass. If you hear raised voices, go into the bathroom and stay there." "Who is it?" "The past," he says, checking a handgun tucked into the small of his back. "Julian didn't just owe me, Elara. He owed our father, and the old man has sent someone to collect the interest." He exits the room, the heavy door thudding shut behind him. I stand in the center of the room, my hand flying to the diamond at my throat. I should be looking for a way out. I should be checking the windows for a ledge. But instead, I walk to the door and press my ear against the wood. Downstairs, I hear a voice. It's older, more refined, but it carries the same sharp, predatory edge as Elias's. "You took the girl, Elias. That wasn't part of the deal. Your brother is a failure, but his assets belong to the family. Bring her down." "She's not an asset," Elias growls, low and dangerous. "She's mine, and if you want her, you'll have to go through me." "Is that a declaration of war, son?" "It's a statement of fact." I lean my forehead against the door, my heart racing. Julian sold me to save himself. Elias is prepared to go to war to keep me. In this dark, twisted world, I'm finding that the monster who took my innocence might be the only thing standing between me and a worse fate. I look at the window, at the dark, churning sea. The cage is bigger here, and the bars are made of diamonds, but for the first time since the blindfold was tied around my eyes, I don't feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I'm finally waking up. The sound of a slap echoes up the grand staircase. It's a sharp, wet crack that makes me flinch. I'm supposed to stay in the room. I'm supposed to be the good asset tucked away behind reinforced glass. But the diamond at my throat feels like it's pulsing with every thud of my heart. And the silence that follows the slap is more terrifying than the noise itself. I crack the door, just an inch. The air in the hallway is thick with the scent of old money and fresh violence. I creep toward the banister, peering through the shadows. Below, in the foyer, Elias is standing perfectly still. His head is turned slightly to the side, a dark smear of blood blooming at the corner of his mouth. Opposite him stands a man who looks like a portrait of Julian 40 years from now.
Arthur, their father. He's dressed in a charcoal suit that cost more than Julian's gallery, and his eyes are as cold as the Atlantic hitting the cliffs outside. You've always been a collector of broken things, Elias, but this is a liability. Your brother's debts are being called in. The girl is the only leverage we have to keep the investors from tearing the family name apart. The family name is a corpse you've been dressing up in gold for decades. Elias spits, wiping the blood from his lip with the back of his hand. He doesn't look hurt. He looks lethal. Julian is the one who killed it. Let him pay the price. He did pay. He gave her to you. Now I'm calling in that debt. The girl goes to the Vane family tonight, a peace offering. You know as well as I do what they'll do to her, and frankly, I don't care. She's a placeholder. I grip the banister so hard the wood bites into my palms. The Vanes, even in my sheltered life with Julian, I'd heard that name. They weren't businessmen, they were butchers. Over my dead body, Elias growls. That can be arranged, Arthur says softly. Two men in the shadows behind Arthur shift. The glint of steel flashes in the dim light. They're not just bodyguards, they're cleaners. I can't stay hidden. The realization that I'm being traded again, passed around like a cursed coin, breaks the last of my restraint. I don't think, I just move. I'm right here, I shout, my voice echoing off the concrete walls as I step into the light at the top of the stairs. Both of them look up. Arthur's eyes narrow, assessing me with the clinical detachment of an appraiser. Elias's expression, however, is pure fury. "Elara, get back in the room," he bellows. "No," I say, my voice shaking but loud. I walk down the stairs one step at a time, my eyes fixed on Arthur. "You want an asset. Look at me. I've already been broken by one of your sons. What makes you think I'm worth anything to the Vanes now?" Arthur's gaze drifts to the diamond at my throat. He smiles, a thin, cruel line. "Ah, the protection stone. Elias, you were always sentimental. It's a shame, she's a beautiful girl, but beauty is common, survival is rare." He turns to his men. "Take her."
Elias doesn't wait. He moves with the predatory speed I've only felt in the dark of a bedroom. He doesn't pull his gun. Not yet. He lunges at the first man, his fist connecting with a sickening crunch. The foyer becomes a blur of violence. It's not like the movies. It's messy. It's the sound of heavy breathing, the scuff of leather on stone, and the dull thud of bodies hitting walls. Elias fights like a man who has nothing to lose, taking hits just to land more brutal ones in return. Arthur stands back, watching the carnage with a look of mild boredom, until Elias pins the second man against the front door, his forearm crushed against the man's throat. "Go," Elias gasps, looking over his shoulder at me. His eye is beginning to swell, and his shirt is torn. "Elara, get to the garage. The keys are in the SUV. Go." "And leave you?" I cry out. "I'm the one they want to keep alive for the paperwork," he roars. "You're the one they'll discard. Run!" I look at Arthur. He's reaching into his coat. My heart stops. He isn't reaching for a phone. He's reaching for a small, silver pistol. He aims it at the back of Elias's head. "Stop!" I scream. I don't run for the garage. I run down the remaining stairs and throw myself between Arthur and Elias. I don't know why. This man took my virginity. This man is a criminal. But he's the only person who hasn't looked at me and seen a dollar sign. Arthur freezes. The barrel of the gun is inches from my forehead. "Move, girl," Arthur says, his voice finally losing his calm. "Kill me then," I challenge, my breath hitching. "If I'm the leverage, I'm useless to you dead. If you want me, you take me alive, but you leave him." The silence is absolute. I can hear Elias's ragged breathing behind me. I can feel the heat of his body, the vibration of his anger. "Elara, move," Elias whispers, his voice sounding broken for the first time. "Don't do this for me." "I'm not doing it for you," I lie, staring straight into Arthur's cold, dead eyes. "I'm doing it for the debt." Arthur looks at me for a long beat. Then he slowly lowers the gun. He laughs, a dry, hacking sound.
You've got spirits, I'll give you that. No wonder Julian couldn't handle you. He pockets the weapon and signals to his bruised, bleeding men. Fine, keep her, Elias. But the veins are coming for their pound of flesh, and when they realize you've kept the asset for yourself, they won't send an old man with a pistol. They'll send a firestorm. Arthur turns and walks out the front door, his men trailing behind him like beaten dogs. The heavy gates outside groan as his motorcade disappeared into the night. I collapse. My knees hit the stone floor, the adrenaline leaving my body in a sickening rush. Elias is beside me in an instant. He doesn't say thank you. He doesn't ask if I'm okay. He grabs my shoulders and shakes me, his eyes wild. "You could have died," he hissed. "You stupid, reckless—" "He was going to kill you," I screamed back, my hands hitting his chest. "Why do you care? I'm just a down payment, remember?" Elias freezes. His hands soften on my shoulders, his fingers sliding up to cup my face. His thumb brushes away a tear I didn't know had fallen. The blood from his lips smears onto my cheek, a dark, permanent mark. "You're not a debt anymore, Elara," he whispers, his forehead leaning against mine. "You're the war, and I'm going to burn the world down to win it." In the wreckage of the foyer, under the cold light of the moon, he kisses me. It's not like the first time. There's no mask, no darkness to hide behind. It's a kiss of desperation, of ownership, and of a terrifying, blossoming love that feels more like a death sentence than a fairy tale. I kiss him back, tasting the copper of his blood and the salt of my own tears. I know then that I'm never getting my old life back. I am a part of the darkness now. And as Elias lifts me into his arms to carry me upstairs, I realize I don't want to be anywhere else. The morning light is cold, slicing through the charcoal curtains of the master bedroom. I wake up with the taste of copper and Elias's kiss still lingering on my lips. My body feels different, heavier, as if the gravity in this house has permanently shifted. Beside me, the bed is cold. I find Elias in the kitchen. The blood from last night has been scrubbed from his face, leaving only a dark, jagged bruise along his jawline and a split lip that makes him look even more dangerous. He's stripping a handgun on the marble island, his movements mechanical and fluid. He doesn't look up when I enter. The veins don't wait for invitations, Lara. They'll be here by nightfall. "What do we do?" I ask, pulling my robe tighter. "Do we run?" "I don't run," he says, clicking a spring back into place. He finally looks at me, his eyes tracking the diamond at my throat. Neither do you. Running just makes you a target. Standing your ground makes you a threat." He pushes a second, smaller weapon across the counter towards me. It's sleek, black, and looks terrifyingly heavy. "Pick it up," he commands. "No," I whisper, stepping back. "I've never even held a kitchen knife with the intent to hurt someone, Elias. I can't." In an instant, he's around the counter. He doesn't grab me roughly, but he stands so close I'm forced to feel his heat. He picks up the gun and presses it in my palm, wrapping his large, calloused hand over mine. "Julian didn't teach you to protect yourself because he wanted you dependent. He wanted you weak so you'd never see him for the coward he is. I don't want a trophy, Elara. I want a partner, someone who can hold the line when my back is turned." He guides my arm up, pointing the barrel towards a stack of firewood at the far end of the room. "Feel the weight," he whispers in my ear. "This is the only thing that levels the playing field between you and men like the Veins, between you and my father, between you and me." "Is that what you are to me?" I ask, my voice trembling as I feel the cold steel in my hand. He turns me around in his arms, his grip on my waist tightening. His eyes are a storm of possessiveness and something much more frightening, respect. "I'm the woman who stood in front of a bullet for me last night. That makes you more than anything I've ever had. But the Veins aren't sentimental. They'll use your beauty to break you. They'll use your innocence as a playground. Unless you show them there's nothing left to break." He leans down, kissing the pulse point at my neck, right above the diamond. My breath hitches. I hate how much I want him, even now, in the middle of a war he dragged me into. "I'm going to show you how to use it, and then I'm going to show you why you'll never have to use it as long as I'm breathing." The afternoon is a blur of gunpowder and recoil. We go down to the basement, a soundproofed range lined with reinforced concrete. Every time the gun kicks, I flinch, the noise ringing in my ears despite the mufflers. Again, Elias says, standing behind me, his hands on my hips to steady my stance. I'm tired, I pant, my arms aching. The veins won't care if you're tired. Again. By the time the sun begins to set, my hands are covered in soot and my shoulder is bruised. But when I pull the trigger for the last time, the bullet hits the center of the target. Elias stays silent for a long moment. He takes the gun from my hand, safeties it, and sets it on the bench. Then he pulls me into him, his mouth crashing on mine with a hunger that feels like it's trying to consume the fear out of my lungs. I wrap my arms around his neck, my fingers tangling in his dark hair. I hate how much I want him even now, in the middle of a war he dragged me into. I'm going to show you how to use it, and then I'm going to show you why you'll never have to use it as long as I'm breathing. The afternoon is a blur of gunpowder and recoil. We go down to the basement, a soundproofed range lined with reinforced concrete. Every time the gun kicks, I flinch, the noise ringing in my ears despite the mufflers. Again, Elias says, standing behind me, his hands on my hips to steady my stance. I'm tired. I can't, my arms aching. The veins won't care if you're tired. Again. By the time the sun begins to set, my hands are covered in soot and my shoulder is bruised. But when I pull the trigger for the last time, the bullet hits the center of the target. Elias stays silent for a long moment. He takes the gun from my hand, safeties it, and sets it on the bench. Then he pulls me into him, his mouth crashing on mine with a hunger that feels like it's trying to consume the fear out of my lungs. I wrap my arms around his neck, my fingers tangling in his dark hair. I hate how much I want him even now, in the middle of a war he dragged me into. I'm going to show you how to use it, and then I'm going to show you why you'll never have to use it as long as I'm breathing. The afternoon is a blur of gunpowder and recoil. We go down to the basement, a soundproofed range lined with reinforced concrete. Every time the gun kicks, I flinch, the noise ringing in my ears despite the mufflers. Again, Elias says, standing behind me, his hands on my hips to steady my stance. I'm tired, I pant, my arms aching. The veins won't care if you're tired. Again. By the time the sun begins to set, my hands are covered in soot and my shoulder is bruised. But when I pull the trigger for the last time, the bullet hits the center of the target. Elias stays silent for a long moment. He takes the gun from my hand, safeties it, and sets it on the bench. Then he pulls me into him, his mouth crashing on mine with a hunger that feels like it's trying to consume the fear out of my lungs. I wrap my arms around his neck, my fingers tangling in his dark hair. I hate how much I want him even now, in the middle of a war he dragged me into. I'm going to show you how to use it, and then I'm going to show you why you'll never have to use it as long as I'm breathing. The afternoon is a blur of gunpowder and recoil. We go